graphics.
Right. Just checking to make sure it has gone through. Right. Yep.
Oh, you know what? I'll update my first name here.
Perfect. Okay, so we are here. I'm here with Dave Cobb. That we are going to be talking about Microsoft Certified Trainer. So if we just, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Dave Cobb. I've been a Microsoft Certified Trainer since 2002, coming on 20 years. I started off as a MCDBA certified Microsoft Certified Trainer. I was teaching SQL Server, and I've had that throughout my career actively, and I've done a lot of engineering roles, a lot of database administrator roles, network engineering, and kind of a generalist. And this last couple of years, I've really been focused heavily on Azure, gone after a lot of Azure certifications, got into training as an MCT with Azure, and balancing that with consulting work. And so that's what I'm doing these days, balancing the consulting and the training, learning cloud and teaching it and helping people with it. So
yeah, it's good. Yeah, because I mean, I basically started off as I only got the Microsoft Certified Trainer in December, so I mean, I'm trying to do my best in terms of teaching people, but I haven't actually gone through the whole course, and but like. Yeah, I haven't actually been an MCT per se. I'm more of like a freelance, and I do my day-to-day job. So yeah, it's a lot of fun teaching people, and getting a certification has been really insightful and useful in terms of the training that's required in order to get it. That's been really insightful for me actually doing all these YouTube videos, which I'm doing. So it's been good.
Great. Yeah, your reach is a lot wider, and the things that you're learning and sharing, especially with Terraform and Azure and the Cloud Adoption Framework, I'm learning a lot from you, and you're teaching in a deep dive way, and incredibly useful stuff. So, I'm kind of following the script in a lot of ways, in the sense that I'm teaching a lot of the certified, the certification classes that are targeted to passing AZ-104 or AZ-204 for Azure administration or development. A lot of DP-203 or DP-300, the database Azure data platform, and the Azure basically the cloud DBA type of classes. So I'm more intrigued by what you're doing, because you're kind of exploring what can be done with Azure in the cloud, and you're sharing what you're learning, which is super cool.
I mean, my whole thing is to try and make sure it's like all kind of real world, but I do want to also help with the certifications as well, because I think it is important, because I know there are things which I've done in my certification learning when I actually then gone ahead and did it in the real world. I'm like, oh, okay, I already did this. I know how to actually, for example, build a virtual machine or build a virtual network. I know how to already do this. So it's quite good to actually do that. And I'm glad that Microsoft have like labs, which you can actually do. And they've I think they brought the labs back in exams, didn't they? Because it went quiet for a while.
They had there's resource issues or security issues around the hands-on labs and the certification exam. Like they spin up a sandbox environment and have you configure a firewall on your Azure SQL database, or configure something around a VM or a network, and check your result. And if you got it right, then that would give you the credit on whatever that question was. Yeah. So I think the hands-on is at the core of learning cloud, and I'm really glad that's part of that they're bringing that to the core of certifying for cloud. It's really about doing it. It's not about not repeating things or memorizing. It's really about, hey, can I do this task?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean,
how do you feel about, because you're working with this now a lot for customers, so the things that are on the certification are generally things that you're going to need to do, right, in real life for the customer. So,
I mean, it helps. I mean, some of the questions I know of actually are, because at the end of the day, these questions are based on real life scenarios. So, for example, if you don't see an IP address, well, the machine may be turned off, and you kind of remember these like things that that's what's basically happening. So you do apply that knowledge. I'm a big believer that it's like you have to learn. Like the certifications are more like the learn part. Then you have to apply what you've learned, and then like you kind of teach that as well. And if you do those three things, it definitely helps you with maintaining and retaining your knowledge in that specific category.
Yeah. Have you? You'll find every time you learn, you go over it and you repeat it. You pick up more. You pick things that you missed. You see different aspects. When you're doing it, you're doing cloud for a customer. There might be examples where you run into a problem, a technical issue, and then now that's stuff that drives you to learn more and go understand, what are the underlying issues. Maybe it's security, maybe, how you've configured the network needs to be changed. So yeah, it kind of is a loop. You're learning it, you're doing it, and then that informs your learning, which informs the doing of it. And then I think there's something about teaching where you deepen your knowledge in a way. It really solidifies what you're learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's been your experience as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do try and teach what I actually learn, because that helps you bring that knowledge and expertise that you've picked up into, and then it also helps other people. It helps other people because you're basically, if you're teaching your team how to do that, then that's it benefits your company as well, not just yourself. So it's a really good thing to have.
Yeah. Do you feel like you were teaching before you got the certification, in the sense that, you're communicating what you're learning, you're working with other people? And if you can't communicate what you know, if you can't explain things to your teammates, then you'll be limited in the kind of work that you can do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I find as well. It's like you have to communicate through what is actually what you've actually done, and that way the teams will understand. Oh yes, that's what they've done. So let's see.
Hey, Konstantin, how's it going?
Konstantin. Just saying hi too. So yeah, we got. Let's talk about we're going to talk about the Microsoft Certified Trainer, right? Because for me, I wanted to talk about this for a while now. Because the thing is, when I was researching it, I actually found it really difficult to actually understand how to become a Microsoft Certified Trainer. I've actually I had to research a lot, and then I found a course on how to do it. So let me just share something, or maybe you can first of all tell us how you became a Microsoft Certified Trainer. What happened?
So, way back in the day, I had kind of a pivot point with my career. In 2002, I'd been doing web development, and a lot of it was in Cold Fusion. It's a layer product. They've been purchased by another company, and it's different now. I'm not using that tool anymore, but it was similar to ASP.NET and ASP, in that you're writing pages that are built with code, and then they're talking to a back end database very often. So we'd have a front end written in Cold Fusion, and the back end was either Access, but you'd outgrow that quickly, and it would become SQL Server. So all of our web applications had SQL Server behind them, and we didn't have a DBA. And I was the de facto DBA, so I was picking up a lot about SQL Server. And 2002, the economy shifted, and a lot of work dried up. And I was thinking, well, where am I going to go from here? Hey, SQL Server looks cool. I know a little bit about it. It looks like it's going to be around for a long time. I wasn't so sure about Cold Fusion. So I said, well, let me dive into this. And I went after a certification. And back in those days, MCDBA was the certification. You have to pass 4 exams.
Wow.
To get the certification of Windows or networking, there were 2 certifications around SQL, and I just dove in. I had a opportunity to go to a boot camp. I spent 2 weeks and just lived and breathed and learned and did labs, and I had a lot of experience with it already. But with that preparation, I was able to pass the 4 exams and get a certification. And then I ran into a friend that had been working with a local company. Shout out to Homnic Systems in Boca Raton. They needed a trainer and with a major certification. So I started teaching with them, and I read up on teaching. I did a bit of a co-teach with another teacher, and sat in the classes and got comfortable gradually getting up in front of a group and talking about something that I learned. And so that was the beginning. That was way back in 2002, and I've since not always been a full-time trainer. I've kept my MCT active, and I've taught at least a class or 2 a year just to stay active. Sometimes working full-time, sometimes working on my own as a freelancer, but I've kept that as part of my IT career.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. I mean, yeah, I've just what was the process to actually apply for the Microsoft Certified Trainer back in the day?
I think they were a lot more informal about it back then. I read a book about training. I sat into other classes, and they asked me questions about the book that I'd read, and then said, Dave, you would like to help maybe teach one of these classes that you've sat through, and they actually had another trainer that was teaching those things as well. So we were able to teach together, so we didn't have to teach full-time on our own. But a lot of it was, hey, here's all the material, here's everything you need, ask any questions, go learn it, and do the labs. And you're learning. In those days, it was all about PowerPoint slides. Maybe you would download a PDF book, so you didn't have so much. The material you have online now is so much better than it was, but you could find a lot of resources for Microsoft, and then deliver those. The first time you deliver a class, it's very intense. You're spending a month or 2 getting ready for that, and then over time you become more familiar with the material, and you kind of keep up with what's new and what's different, and it becomes more routine as you're picking up new things, figuring out what's new, and then delivering that. And then a big part of it turned out to be tech support. So I had one of my first jobs out of college was doing phone tech support, and doing a lot of troubleshooting when something goes wrong for a student, something doesn't work in the lab. In those days, we would have to set up there's no virtual machine. We were installing new servers with images and setting up the labs before the class. So there's a lot of more prep work than you have these days for classes. So a lot of troubleshooting on every level, the network and OS, as well as for SQL Server. And then that's become super valuable, because if you can support students, then it turns out that that skill just applies everywhere. You're helping everybody with technology. So it's kind of a feedback loop. If you're learning and you're teaching, now you're better at technology, so you get more interesting work and more challenging work. So it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, for me, I've got my Microsoft Certified Trainer. I will explain actually a bit, but basically you do need a certification, and there was a course which I did, and then during the course, I got the Microsoft Certified Trainer certification. So that's basically so I guess maybe they formalized it now, so there's a process, compared to what you had before. Mm-hmm. So let's just go through it a little bit, because I do want to go. So I'm just going to share my screen over here, and I'm going to bring this up over here. Right. So over here, if you navigate to this, I'll just post it up in the comments so people can see that. And I'll also add it into the description of the YouTube video. But essentially, it tells you how to become a Microsoft Certified Trainer. We'll talk about the benefits in a sec, but basically the MCT program entry requirements are you need to possess a current Microsoft certification or qualification eligible for the MCT program. So they have a whole list of the certifications, which are over here. So like if you're Azure based or 365, it's like, it's quite a lot of different ones. I remember they've actually stopped the Microsoft Office Specialist, but any other certification will do. So as long as you hold one of these, then you've basically qualified this point. Then this is the important bit about the instructional skills, and you have to basically attend one of these courses to actually get that. I know I've chatted with Mike Pfeiffer before, and he had to come to IC Plus, and he advised me to maybe go down that route, but I decided to go down the Fourth Dimension Technologies. So they're the company which basically taught me and gave me an instructional course, and you can go from there. I'll leave a link to those, but yeah, that's kind of like the what I found difficult was actually just communicating with these companies and finding out how you can get the instructional skills course from it, because I wish they added links to those companies so it's like official going to there. But yeah, that's where.
Wow, they've done so much more to prepare trainers, and there's a lot of good things that they're covering here. I'm looking at the CompTIA CTT one. This is the CompTIA Certified Technical Trainer certifications. That was the first one there in that list. And yeah, they're doing so much to prepare people. It's really amazing.
Yeah, Konstantin says some of those names references are a bit more broken than others. Well, to be honest, I don't actually see any links or references, so you have to Google it. And you're going to be paying a lot of money for this. You're going to be paying probably like $1,000 or something like that. So essentially, if you're going to be paying a lot of money, then you might want to have the official channel. So that's the one thing which I wish they did on this page. But other than that, so you have once you get both, then you can actually apply with MCT.
So
yeah,
that's good. So these are all the different ways of, and I'd like to hear from more folks that are, if anybody has gotten trainer certifications for any of these, I'd like to find out about their experience. Did you learn a lot about how to teach, and what was your experience from the Fourth Dimension Technologies? From what did you learn about teaching that helped you?
I've learned that like adult learning is obviously different to teaching, like for example kids or something like that. Adults value their time more. They are more they can be more inquisitive rather than and it helped me understand you can have different personality types, so they might learn differently to others. For example, myself, I'm more of a learner who's quite I'll call myself a spontaneous learner. Like when I have this, I'm not like an organized kind of person where I go, yeah, I'm gonna learn this today, this tomorrow, this tomorrow, this tomorrow. I'm like, well, I need to learn this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and learn it. That's kind of like my my kind of element, I suppose. But yeah, it's helped me with that. So it's helped me open my eyes that it's just like to think about the audience that I'm doing more than actually for myself, if that makes sense.
That's good. So from what I hear when you say that, I think you're following your curiosity. and you want to learn about this, and you just jump in and start learning, and you're self-directed in how you're learning, which seems to be I see that with a lot of teachers too. You don't need someone to tell you, Andrei, go learn this. You have an eagerness to learn it, and you get satisfaction from explaining it to other people and sharing what you learn. So those are teacher traits, and yeah, and that just happens to make you good at your job and useful to have around for any technology situation, as well. So I recognize that. And so part of it is like connecting with the students. You're asking them questions. Hey, why are you in this class? You're trying to get a certification, or you have a project you need to do? Is it a part of an initiative with your company? What's the motivation for the class? And if you find people who are interested and kind of meeting them with that interest with the information, it makes the class flow really naturally. You're just kind of helping them to teach themselves, basically. You're kind of enabling them to learn.
Yeah, totally. So so essentially what you do is, once you get both of these, you then go into the MCT enrollment tool, and it's going to log me in now. This is the one where I've actually completed my confirmation, but essentially they have your profile, they have your requirements, what you do, and then they will tell you exactly what certifications you may have. So with your actual Microsoft profile, and then they will say that so kind of grayed out because it's it's all complete, but that you get the picture. So that's how you go through it really and apply for the program guide. So I'm just going to back out of this. And then, so that's kind of the application process. It's quite simple. I think the payment, I think it's still waived. I'm not sure if it is, but I think last time I applied for it, it was waived. I think they want to get more Microsoft certified trainers out there, so they, they're waiving that and waiving the program fee for now.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well. I haven't had to pay for it, and I think it's different in different countries. The amount of cost varies country to country as well, so it's hard to tell everybody what that's going to cost.
Yeah.
I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I think I've paid $400 before. I think one time I may have, but it was more expensive. This is like pre-Azure days. It might have been as much as $600. But it's been a lot. Right? And I agree. I think that they want more trainers, and I think it's to their benefit to make that cost lower.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's. I think I saw for UK it could be up to like £750, but for right now it's waived, so we're fine from that. And pretty much you apply, and the benefits that you get are quite great, actually. I mean, it's like you get a discount on exams, right? So how much of a discount do you get?
It's half the cost. So these days, I think exams are like 150 in the US. I think so. It's like 75 for the exams. Actually, so that and then. You're also notified whenever there's a new exam certification out, and they put out betas and they push them out to the MCTs because they're the folks that are most interested and kind of give the most feedback when these new beta exams come out. So a lot of times we'll take a beta exam that's free to get ahead on some new technology that comes out.
And this is kind of benefits that you get for being an MCT. They have MCT software and services. Can you see that? There you go. That should be better. So you have MCT software and services. So you basically get access to the you get a lot of actually free stuff. So like you get Visual Studio codes, you get Windows 10 codes, all of the software codes, you get that for free. You don't have to actually, pay for that, which is, in effect, the program pays for itself, even if you do have to pay the fee, because basically that just gives you, rather than spending like, couple of Windows 10 keys or Windows Server keys, you get that here, which is great.
Yes.
Azure Pass. Do you want to talk about Azure Pass a little bit?
Yeah. So and to reflect on what you're saying, that the Visual Studio, basically the equivalent for that benefit would be, somebody would be paying for an MSDN account or a Visual Studio subscription. I think there's some overlap for that, but it's a lot of benefits. So that myvisualstudio.com, that Azure credit is probably the most valuable thing that you can get, depending. I don't know if it's different for different people or different types of plans. It could be $50 to $150 a month of Azure credit, right? And then those Azure passes, so the monthly credit, that's part of my.visualstudio.com. That's where you access that. And then the Microsoft Azure passes. So this is something that's specifically designed for people who are taking a Microsoft certified or a Microsoft official curriculum or MOC courseware. They'll when they put a class together, each student who would be using Azure for that class for that week would be able to get an Azure Pass, a sponsor. It's also called an Azure sponsorship, where they get a 30-day trial. I believe it's $100 of credit in most cases. So the students get those. And this link, that second one here, that Azure Pass program, the trainer can get one as well. So, but it's you have to make sure that you can't just get one whenever you want. You have to say, hey, I'm teaching a class, and you tell them what class it is and what date it is, and then they give you the Azure Pass. So they limit those, but because they're super valuable, and they're also, I think, some people will take those and abuse them and try to spin up stuff that's going to be mining Bitcoin or something like this. So they have to be careful about how those passes get out. And so students get access to these, and trainers get access to those as well.
Cool. Yeah. Well, good to see that. And you also have like Microsoft Labs as well, right? So the Microsoft Labs are really helpful to support trainer readiness, right? So it's like you've used a couple. How's your experience with them?
I would say it's really easy to say it's been the most ongoing in the ongoing process of learning. Being able to have access to labs and spinning things up and learning them has been probably the best benefit for keeping up with Azure, and for my own self-learning, as well as preparing for exams. So there's a few different providers that Microsoft works with to create these labs, such that they teach the Microsoft certified trainer how to use them, how to access them, get in and do the labs in preparation for the class. And then the week of the class, there's a special code each student gets to log in and register for those labs. And then what's great is the student has access to that, not just for the week of the class, but sometimes up to 6 months after the class, the student can come in there and use those labs. So and that means, and a lab is, imagine, when you're a student and you open up the lab environment, and you have a web page that has the name of your class, and then a lab for each module that's in the class. And then each of those modules has a lab, and that would spin up a new virtual environment. And that will typically be a Windows 10 or 11 desktop that's you're accessing through a web browser. And so it'll have any of the tools you need, Visual Studio, Visual Studio Code, any dependencies you need for the lab on that machine. So you're using that in combination with the Azure Pass. So you're able to step through the lab in an environment that has all the prerequisites. So one of the biggest challenges with learning is making sure that all of the dependencies are there for the student. You don't want to spend a lot of time troubleshooting. Hey, do you have the right Visual Studio Code? Do you have the right version of PowerShell? It's all right there the way you need it. And so they can just focus on learning the technology.
Cool. Just a quick one while we talk about it. Konstantin mentioned there was an MCT conference. There was. Me and Dave attended it back in April, May, I think.
Yeah, they have one every year. There's a virtual conference, and last couple of years, it's only been the virtual conference, but typically they have one in person. Maybe we'll have an in-person one this year as well. And that's really great because a lot of times if you can't make it to these, they record them. So they'll have something called Train the Trainer. So an MCT can plug in and have the folks who maybe have developed the course or developed the curriculum and maybe the labs talking about how to learn it, what the trainer should focus on, and gives them the background of the technology and even walks them through each module. Might drill in and even show them things that come up with the labs and the technology that they should know. Really intense, really deep dive knowledge from very smart people about how to use the technology and whatever's learning. So if you like to learn technology right now, you're probably using whatever your resources that you're finding online or your Microsoft Learn. We're using those too as trainers, but Microsoft does a lot to train the trainers and give you extra information. So being an MCT, that's another one of the great benefits.
Cool. Yeah, and one of the other things is, like I mentioned during that conference, you get a lot of insight to before, for example, exams are released, where there's a lot of NDA stuff that is told to MCTs before the general public. For example, there was a security exam that came out, but it was told we knew about it a bit earlier, but it's out now, so it's perfectly fine to talk about. But yeah, it's just that level of insight that you get, that you can see Microsoft's vision going forward. So therefore, you can prepare, yourself, your courses towards that, rather than just like rather than being just like the general public, really. So I think that's a really great benefit of it as well.
Yeah. Thinking about, especially, and it was true in IT, and it's like 10 times more true in the cloud, where you're having to continually learn to keep up and keep ahead of the technology, so that you're always on top of things. You're always able to understand what the current state of the technology is that people need to learn. And so those sneak previews, that's another great benefit. You're ahead of the curve, so to speak. You get a kind of sneak preview knowledge as an MCT. So I think incidentally they do that also for MVPs as well. So if you're an Azure MVP, they have a conference, and they have access to find out things that are under NDA, so the MVPs can stay on top of new changes and new technologies, especially with Azure. There's a lot changing, a lot very rapidly. So that kind of information is super valuable.
Yeah, definitely. And just going through the rest, course access. What is course access then? I've never really gone, but yeah.
So they have in addition to when you come and you register for a Microsoft official curriculum class, in addition to having access to the labs, you can get access to digital courseware. So you can think of it as access to like an online book that follows along with the class, that gives you access to additional information. So the student, when you're in a class, when you're teaching a Microsoft official class, you don't share the PowerPoints. That's proprietary, but the information in the course material for the students kind of follows it along. So they'll have the same structure, you have the same diagrams. So that's how they access that information. And they can just access it over a web browser, and they keep access to that after the class as well.
So, yeah, I mean, I've seen some PowerPoints as well, like and I've downloaded a couple for myself learning, and hopefully I'll be able to push out some classes later on in the year. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's really great. It's great to see that everything's made for you, because I know, like, when you're a teacher or not having that is sometimes a problem, and you have to create yourself. But the fact that you have that already, and all you have to worry about is the presentation and delivery, that's really key.
Yeah, they do a tremendous amount, and the process for this has improved so much in making the information for things easily discoverable for the teacher, and being able to access it. They've made that process. It used to be a lot harder to find. When things changed, when were they going to change, and what was new? What's been updated? So a big part of keeping up is what's new since the last time, or what's broken, what's changed. And they've done a lot to help you keep up with things as an MCT.
And speaking of the same next point, is basically the learning download centers, where the PowerPoint, the decks, it's like any exam is listed there. So if it's kind of, you can use it for your own personal gain, but at the same time you can teach others as well on it. So it's really great stuff over there. Yeah. I've never used MCT Store. Actually I have. I bought a couple of the t-shirts out there, and I got my certificate as well. So yeah, it's like I'm quite happy with that. So it's good to, it helps you, I guess, as a trainer, to improve your personal brand as well, because it's just like, you've got that, you've got that Microsoft Certified Trainer t-shirt or something, so that you've got it basically.
Yeah, I've got a good jacket, an MCT jacket. Maybe I'll get some MCT socks. I think I need some MCT.
I'm not sure if they do jackets or socks, but I'll have a look at next time. Or I saw was t-shirts. And of course, discounts I can talk about because it's listed here. So it's good that you get 50% discount, as you mentioned, 75% off some exams, which is good, through and then you get one free exam voucher as well. So you can
MOS. Isn't that the Office? That's the what is MOS? I remember it's something.
Microsoft Office Specialist.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you get the Microsoft. Sorry. Here we are. So yeah, the Microsoft Office Specialist. So you can request that, and 100% discount on selected beta exams, which is great as well, because you can just do the beta exams, and then it's just like, if they're 100% off, it's free. Again, you get Measure Up as the official Microsoft partner for providing like practice exams. So they do like labs and practice exams, and you get a discount on that, which is good. Yeah. And you also seem to get books and ebooks. I've not used this one though. Have you?
So since I've started with Azure, all my reference has been either Microsoft Docs or Microsoft Learn. I'm ebooks that I've purchased. I don't know if I've got any Microsoft ones. The documentation in Microsoft Learn has really been most everything I needed for these things, especially since things are changing so rapidly. It just makes sense to have that information, especially for Azure, for what we're dealing with, web-based as opposed to the ebooks. So that's the trend I'm seeing right now.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I've mainly learned online as well. Docs on Microsoft.com is where pretty much I get most of my knowledge from. You know, but it's good that you have that there, because some people are more, you know, they prefer a hard book instead of a digital. But I guess it all depends on the learning style, right?
Yeah, I would love to have that automatically updated paper book. So maybe it's I haven't had good experience. I'm trying to get some of these things that might fit on my Kindle or on a tablet. I've had some success with it, but yeah, I miss that too. That big paper book that I can reference and write in. I miss all of that. Having access to those things. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe one day we'll have e-ink paper, and we can have books again that'll keep up with the technology.
Yeah, that would be something, like having an actual physical book, and but the pages are actually going into the, you know, into being whatever it is. So maybe that's an idea for somebody to do. But yeah, anyway, so in terms of community and support, you of course get that support. You can contact your regional lead. I have, they've been great so far. And you got the MCT Central, so you got like all the news and what, you know, again, all that knowledge is being given to you before the public. So, which is really great to have.
Yeah, there's at MCT Central. We can't go there and show everybody else, but because that's for the MCTs. But again, super community. I think, and I've seen so many leaps ahead in the usability and functionality. They're really doing a lot to enable the MCT community to keep up with the technology and help each other, reach out with questions. There's tons of resources there. So I'm really impressed with what I've seen over the last year or two with MCT Central, and it keeps getting better. So if you're trying to stay ahead of the technology, keep up with things, that's where I'm going. So very often if I have to teach a new class or something's been updated, I'm going in there and saying, hey, does anybody have any issues with this particular class? Did anybody run into any issues with these labs? And I'll find out things from other MCTs that help me a lot in understanding technology and working through problems.
Yeah. Good stuff. So that's basically a run through. Let's see. Konstantin said that the PrintFX looks so nice on the shelf. So I gotta say, yeah. I mean, it's nice to have that, and then people are going, "Oh, you have this," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's it." Sometimes I haven't read it, but I have it on the shelf.
Yeah, I miss it too. Yeah, it's nice to have those, and I've got a few different SQL Server books here somewhere, and I like to have that too. I do kind of miss that. I miss the bookshelf.
Yeah. So that's covering MCT benefits. So essentially that's kind of what an MCT gives you in terms of benefits, and it really just is so I think, to be honest, in terms of what the world could be, I think it's like everybody should get it, because to be honest, we are talking about all of the how can I say it, people should be learning but also teaching what they're learning. So if we have that community, then that's exactly what you want to encourage in your companies, and to make sure that everybody's teaching everybody, so it comes to a better process and learning.
There's something to that. There's something to what you're talking about there, because I'm seeing as people are learning, I think a lot of folks get overwhelmed with the pace of it, and how do I do this? How do I keep up with this? And before I was working with the cloud, I was focused on SQL, and I learned PowerShell, but I didn't, I was still learning cloud. And 2018 was actually, and maybe a little bit earlier, I was getting more and more involved with that, and just the overwhelm of learning and that process was intimidating, and it's people who are stepping in there new to the cloud. It's hard for them to say, hey, I don't know hey, I'm a noob. Hey, I've got tons of questions. And that getting through that first part of learning the beginner steps was made so much easier by being equipped as a trainer, because the teacher by definition is there to learn and then share what they know. So it's a super equipment for anybody in technology to be able to be focusing on MCT. And you've got a point there too. There's something about teaching each other. There's something about I'm just not here to learn and do it. I'm here to learn and do it and share what I learn with other people so that they can benefit. And that connection with other people, I've found to be, it's important, it's also rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I feel as well. I mean, it's just like just teaching some. I know what you're talking about. Like when you first start out in anything, or like let's just say Azure in this example. When I started out learning in Azure, I was like, I had no idea how to actually go through all the course, find out what practice exams, and actually take the exam. I found that first certification to be the most difficult. After that, I do a couple of other certifications. It becomes a lot easier. Like it's the first and maybe second, like the first one and the expert levels that you do become very difficult. So that kind of concept is where I'm like just yeah, that is definitely something else. And
What was your first cert?
it was actually AZ104.
Yeah.
So well, 103 at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? Well, you said you had the SQL, right? So yeah.
So before Azure, it was all about SQL. I had a couple of like Active Directory things and things like that. I had taken some early beta Azure exams, and then did like an upgrade to get to whatever AZ103. I think it was AZ103. So I was watching what was happening and back in the early days of Azure, it was storage. They had web apps, they had virtual machines. Yeah, Server 2016. I think the last time I was certified on SQL Server was actually, I think it was 2012. I think I did an upgrade to 2016.
Yeah.
But that AZ104, that administrator, that's foundational. That's so much overlap. You see those same concepts everywhere.
I mean, I tell you, I mean, I did do like a Windows 7 configuring like back in the day, like almost like 8 years ago, and then I tried the server one and I completely but I was trying to get into IT rather than actually being in IT and doing the certification. So yeah, that was an experience like way back. But nowadays, I mean, yeah, Azure in terms of Azure, AZ104 was my first cert. Yeah, and Konstantin mentions, how does MCT help with your personal branding? Do orgs people start reaching out to you to do classes because you're on MCT? I'll let you go for this first.
That's a good question. So, all right, even though teachers don't know everything, as soon as you find out somebody's a teacher, somebody says, oh, this person knows everything about this. So I found this out with like SQL Server a lot. Oh, Dave teaches it SQL. Let's ask him about this. So sometimes that's hard because, hey, I don't know this, or I know this level, but I don't know this depth. And so it's a little bit of a challenge for teachers. Hey, you tell them, hey, here's what I know. Here's the part I don't understand yet. You're asking me a tough question. Let me go figure it out. And so a lot of times that the fact of being a teacher brings people to you to answer questions. So puts you on the spot to go and learn. So it forces you to keep deepening your knowledge as a teacher. And because you're communicating for the job, it kind of bleeds into other areas of your life. Now you're kind of teaching people just in passing as you're working with technology. You're talking about technology and helping them and you're just perceived as more useful and as a resource to other people. And so that's opened up doors for consulting opportunities. I got a job, actually from one of my former students. He really enjoyed the class, and months later, hey, we have an opening here, and it was a good time for me to get work. And so that being a teacher who likes it and likes learning, and not afraid to say what they do and don't know, and they'll learn and come back and answer those questions, that kind of makes you useful and a resource, and it puts you in people's radar. So the next time somebody has a question about SQL or Azure, whatever the thing is you're focused on teaching, they'll think of you, and it does. It opens up a lot of doors, and you become, even though you don't know everything, you're still an expert. You're still a teacher, and that really does. And my experience of that has been, it's really made my career almost flow naturally. I haven't had to pursue a lot of work. I haven't had to knock on doors very much for different jobs. That people have come to me and have opened up opportunities. So that's been a really great thing about being an MCT.
And echoing on that side, I've had a lot of people reach out to me on LinkedIn saying, I have this course coming up. Can you do this? Or Kev, can you do this? Fortunately, I didn't manage to because of my other work commitments. But yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, even though I'm like, new MCT. People just are communicating and asking, oh, we need someone to teach server hybrid. AZ801 has come out, so we need somebody to teach that, or AZ700, or one like the network, and you just keep getting communicated to that, and if you just respond and basically see where that takes you. But yeah, you do get that first point of contact just because you are an MCT. That's what the certification is there for.
Yeah. How when you took the first one, that was the hardest one, and then you took the next one, it was a little easier, right? So that second time that comes up, hey, I know the basics, now I'm learning this. So if they come to you and say, hey, would we like you to teach hybrid networking, or there's this one is the networking exam, there's one for technical support. If you were to take those on, it's a lot to learn, but you're already maybe you already have 30% of the knowledge, or maybe 50% of the knowledge based on what you already, based on the exams you already have and your work experience. So there's something about that. Each time you do it, it actually becomes easier. Like you've got bonus points the next time you take an exam.
Yeah, that's what I found as well. But hopefully one of these days I will be able to do that. So yeah, what else is to cover for Microsoft Certified Trainer? I think that's kind of it, isn't it? I mean, is there anything else? You wanted to talk about the learning pyramid, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want me to share that for you? Well, I got good, or have you got it down on your screen?
Okay. Yeah, I'll bring it up. So, let me bring this here. All right. So, let's see. I'm going to share here. I would be delighted. Anybody who's in IT who wants to excel, who wants to continuously improve, is going to be optimizing their learning and how they learn. And so I'm using DuckDuckGo. It's my favorite search engine. What's great about this, you can put in a term and then search for the images for the term, so I can find all these great diagrams. So very often I'm using this. By the way, if you use this for Azure diagrams, it's useful as well. So I could pick, let's pick one of these that looks good. The pyramid of learning, there's this idea that when you're learning and you're moving down this pyramid from the top to the bottom as you get more engaged with the learning process. So if you're just listening to us, let's say we were talking about some kind of technology, you might remember 5%, right? If you read, maybe you're going to get 10%. So there's a progression as you get more engaged with the with the material, you're going to retain more of that information. So, so if you're demonstrating, you're watching a demonstration, hey, I'm seeing how it works. Now I'm at 30%. Discussing it. This is huge. People who are going back and forth, and especially if you're learning in teams and you're sharing, people are talking about what it is they're learning, you pick up so much. Or if you're able to, if you have your cubicle next to somebody else who's figuring something out of technology, you're hearing them talk it through and you're picking up a lot from them. But then, doing it, of course, you're going to learn more. You get in and do the technology. So one of the things I'd like to focus people on, if you've got a limited amount of time, go and do a lab. Go and do even something in Microsoft Learn or in the docs where they have the tutorials and the walkthroughs. Those are built and designed for you to pick up new technology, and that's 75%. And then maybe teaching is 90%. And so, the numbers are exactly kind of arbitrary. If I look at different pyramids, I might see different numbers for things. It's not an exact number. The point is not, what is the percentage? But the point is, as you move down this pyramid, you get a fuller understanding of whatever the material is. So because teaching is at the bottom of this, there's no other way that's known to absorb knowledge that's better than teaching it. And there's so much utility in being able to teach this. So if you think about the fact that with the cloud, the amount of knowledge that we're having to learn just keeps ramping up, and it keeps changing so rapidly, right? So our brains aren't getting faster. We're the same creatures. So we need to find every lever we can to be more effective in mastering new technology that's changing rapidly. So, I would argue that you're not going to find a better way than being a teacher. Yeah, and I understand that means, a lot of dealing with a lot of fear and dealing with a lot of anxiety about becoming a teacher. So I think rather than putting people on a pedestal teacher, hey, you need to be this formal role, I really think the key these days is the social teaching, is the one-on-one, the peer teaching, where we're maybe teaching each other in 15-minute bursts, or even something small and manageable that helps people to start with this and get the benefits of it without being overwhelmed. Because the thing that you did to get started, the thing that I did to get started, maybe not everybody will go through all those steps to become a formal teacher, but every opportunity people can find to teach others what they're learning is going to benefit them. Just beside the benefit for the student, for the learners, it's going to benefit the teacher in how they master and learn the information. So I'm a big believer in this, and I've seen it in my career.
Yeah, that's that. I think I'm the same. I think as I gone through, and I might have worked on something and I have delivered it and everything like that, I didn't actually get the full knowledge of a product until I actually gone ahead and taught it to other people. For example, I had to do like handovers or teach what I've basically deployed to the environment. So when I do that, that really cements my knowledge, and it also opens the opportunity for more expansive knowledge, because sometimes there's people that you're teaching ask you certain questions that you have no answer to, or you may have not thought about it as that way before, but they might be right. And that's the thing, you might have to have just that open mind that, you know what, you may not know everything, but at least teaching exposes that knowledge that you may have.
So think about, I can relate to that. And when you get that question that you don't know, all right, this is a key element here, because there's a temptation to make something up or to diffuse the question or sidestep it because hey, I'm the teacher and I should know everything. But we know that's not true. We don't know everything. So if you let them in, let the student in on the fact that, hey, you stumped me. I don't know the answer to that. Or maybe I think I might know the answer. Or you know what, last time I checked, and you have a starting point. And if I ask you a question that you don't know about Azure, what are you going to do? You're going to go and look it up in the docs, and showing them how you go find it. Was it MS Docs? I don't know. There's a MS Docs. Yeah, so you can use like these shortcuts from here, and then you show them how you're researching their question. And maybe you wouldn't be able, maybe you wouldn't want to give them, maybe it takes you a half an hour to find the answer. Maybe you don't want to show them that whole process, but boiling it down to showing them, hey, here's how you navigate the docs. Very often I'm spending a lot of time in the Azure Architecture Center, showing people, how to find reference diagrams for things, showing them how, I go and find the answer, so that they're equipped to find the answer for themselves or to do their own research.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a very valid point. Okay, so I think we are quite good on time, but I think that was a really great introductory. If you're watching this on replay, don't forget to like and subscribe. But essentially, me and Dave are going to be launching a lot more of these, so hopefully you'll join on the next one. So until that time, we'll see you there.
Thanks, Andrei.